What's up, everybody? This is your man Dre Mac coming to you again with another video. This is a reaction video. The grandfather of the Recast T'Challa movement, John Campea, says that we need to stop whining about Recast T'Challa and intimate boycott is not what is supposed, that's not going to get anything done. I want to discuss this whole thing. This is going to be a whole reaction, but the real question is, are you Let's get into this reaction. I'm gonna go all the way through it so you guys can kind of see what's going on. Again, fair use. This is a reaction to this video, so let's get to it.
Chris, what is our first main topic today?
Our first topic comes from Patrick Pellegrini. Greetings and salutations. In the wake of the new trailer for Black Panther Wakanda Forever, there is now a fan movement sharing #Recast T'Challa and calling for a boycott of the film, as they believe the decision not to recast was disrespectful to both Chadwick Boseman and the character of T'Challa. Honestly, I feel like there was really nothing Marvel could have done that would have been an ideal situation. Anyway, what are y'all's thoughts here, and do you think this could have a significant impact on the film?
All right, thanks a lot for sharing that, Patrick. And look, there's a couple things you've got to understand about me. I'd love to dig up the clip, but when they announced Chadwick Boseman was going to be Black Panther, I still remember the movie talk we were doing at the time. And I know there were a lot of people going, like, who? And it's like, guys, told everybody, listen, if you have not seen, I still think his best performance is Get On Up.
Me too.
I'm like, if you guys have not seen Get On Up, or 43, or whatever,
42,
this guy is going to be a great Black Panther. He's going to be out. So I was thrilled and excited about Chadwick Boseman being Black Panther from the beginning. I'm kind of the grandfather of the whole Recast T'Challa movement. I mean,
so that's where I'm gonna stop it right there, because John, I don't see your name on this petition, and I'm gonna bring this petition up because this is what, for one, when were you ever the grandfather of this? When did you ever talk to and anybody in the comment section can tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember him and E-Man's from E-Man's movie review having a conversation about Recast T'Challa. Let me tell you when the change.org was started by E-Man and E-Man's movie review. Let me go through the whole thing so you can know exactly what is going on. Matter of fact, I'm gonna pull it up on Facebook too. But this is well over a year old. Let's get that straight. This is well over a year old, and E-Man's movie review says, let me just point this out because I don't see John's name on this, so let me get this out. It says E-Man's movie reviews started this petition to Marvel and 5 others. Let me see if to Marvel and 5 others. Let me see. John's not on here. Okay, so in August of 2020, the world mourned the death of Chadwick Boseman. Too many. He was known for his on-screen role as Black Panther in the Marvel Universe. While his character of T'Challa was adored by fans, there have been many rumors that Marvel will kill off his character in the new movie for good. This is a call for the president of Marvel Studios, Kevin Feige, co-president Louis D'Esposito, writer-director Ryan Coogler, to reconsider their decision and recast the role of T'Challa in the Black Panther franchise. If movie studios remove T'Challa, it will be at the expense of the audience, especially black boys and men who saw themselves in him. That also includes the millions of fans who were inspired by the character as well. By not recasting him, it could stifle the opportunity for one of the most popular leading black superheroes to aid on their legacy. The #1 way to kill a legend is to stop telling their stories. This is the key, John, because since you're the grandfather of this, let me see if you brings up these points when it comes to #Recast T'Challa. Recast T'Challa is not calling for an immediate recast. #1, this is the first thing on there. #2, Recast T'Challa is not preventing anyone else from taking up the mantle of Black Panther. Number 3, recast T'Challa is asking Marvel Studios not to use the tragic passing of Chadwick Boseman as a plot device in their fictional storytelling. Number 4, recast T'Challa is asking for the portrayal of T'Challa to be allowed to continue in the MCU. That is laid out. That is recast T'Challa in a nutshell. So that gives you a complete understanding of what recast T'Challa is. E-Man's movie review started recast T'Challa and did a video on April the 5th, 2021. It is now, as the date of this recording, July 29th, 2022. So, when people talk about recast T'Challa, they need to be aware of the time frame. Now that I got all of that out, let's continue with the reaction video.
Like, once the initial wave and shock of everything, like the passing of Chadwick happened, and people started to discuss again, well, you know, what do they do now with the Black Panther character? I was one of the first people to say, this T'Challa is too important of a character. What Chadwick Boseman did and the work that he did to kind of make this character a part of our zeitgeist is too important. Recast it. Carry it on. That's what you need to do. So before I say what I'm about to say, you've got to understand, number 1, I loved Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther. And number 2, I completely believe they should have recast. I completely believe they should have continued on with the character T'Challa, and they should have recast. Okay? With that said, this whole idea of boycotting because they didn't recast it is silly. Guys, listen to me. I'm one of you. I believe they should have recast T'Challa to this day. But do you not realize the movie is shot? It's done now. The movie's done.
And see, again, this was, you know, Chadwick died in August of 2020. So E-Man came out in April, which, if I'm doing my math right, was at about 8 months to do the recast T'Challa. So this is nothing new. The hashtag recast T'Challa is nothing new. It trends on Twitter. I do agree with him, you know, and it's, I can see both sides. I can see, you know, supporting the people that is in the movie, Winston Duke and Lupita and all of these people, to, you know, go and see the movie and support them and kind of see what they're doing. Like, I understand the people was like, I'm not going to watch that if you're going to use his death as a plot device. See, I don't think anybody is actually saying this now, but when you use a man who, yes, he was great as Black Panther, but he only had one story told. He was introduced in Civil War. You know, he had appearances in Infinity War and Endgame, but they were really, if you literally take his appearances in Civil War, Endgame, and Infinity War, Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame, those are the 3 movies he had. Then the Solo movie, you literally probably got maybe an hour, probably not even that, of just him, just T'Challa. You know what I mean? An hour. Probably not, and somebody could calculate, it's probably less than that. Because halfway through Black Panther, he got thrown off the cliff. He was incapacitated. And in the visuals and the things that he brought was powerful, but his story was not complete. So I can see where he's saying, like, that's pretty asinine if you just say skip this movie, but these are the consumers. You're talking about literally showing a person who died in real life dying in a movie. Like, we already seen him die. And I'm gonna clip E-Man into this. I'm gonna tag him into this. He literally just said this in a review of the trailer. We gotta see T'Challa die again. As a black man, y'all don't understand. I don't think, to my white counterparts, I don't really think y'all understand how detrimental that is, especially when it's a fictional character, man. Come on. We see Black Death all the time, but y'all don't get that because y'all don't have to go through that. We do. We carry that burden. But let me get off my horse. Let me keep going.
There's no recasting anybody now. The movie's shot. It's done.
Oh, and to that point, you got 4 more months before this movie comes out. You literally can do reshoots. Didn't they just do that with Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness? Didn't they do that with Spider-Man No Way Home? Like, didn't they do that with Thor: Love and Thunder? You could go up to moments before, I mean, not moments exactly, but all the way up until the film is getting ready to release and do a reshoot. And it's a fictional story. I'm not saying I immediately recast him in this particular story, but there was ways that you could have got around this. So the death of the real death of Chadwick Boseman is not part of the plot device for this movie, because literally we seen him die during the blip. You know, so one of the things E-Man said was, do the story, if you're gonna do this tribute, do it during the blip. Because we all knew everybody got dusted, so that would be more pliable or whatever, or it'd be easier to go down. But just to make it as a part of the movie, come on. I don't think y'all understand what we see as black consumers. But let me keep going.
But you also, and I've said this before, this whole idea. Yeah, because I have heard from people. I have seen people saying that, that it was disrespectful for them to say the character's been killed off, and all this kind of nonsense. And the thing is this: Kevin Feige, more importantly Ryan Coogler, and people who worked side by side with Chadwick Boseman for years to create this project that really, when people look back on the life and career of Chadwick Boseman, unfortunately, they're not going to look on Get On Up or whatever. They're going to think Black Panther. That's really his legacy, right? These people who worked side by side with Chadwick Boseman and knew him and loved him and helped forge that legacy. If you think for 1 second you respect Chadwick Boseman more than those people did, you're just as dumb as I look.
But what about his family? His family has came out and said Chadwick would have wanted the character to be recast. So, what about his family? Don't take it from, poor guy with, a little over 200 followers. Don't take it from me. Go talk to his brother. There's documentation of his brother, you know what I'm saying, and his niece, saying that he would love the role to be recast because, for one, it's a A-list Marvel role. And there's plenty of actors who have amazing talent that could have took that and ran with it. It could have boosted their career. But you don't see this with Batman. They literally, as the day of this record, Ben Affleck is coming back as Batman in a new Aquaman movie. Now, you got Michael Keaton, Ben Affleck, Robert Pattinson. We just seen this is just recently. We just seen 3 Spider-Man on film. But he's so legendary in probably an hour worth of film that y'all can't recast him.
I mean, that's a stupid thing to think at all. You don't know and you don't respect Chadwick Boseman as much as those people do. All right?
That's unfair. And the reason why I'm saying it's unfair and that's very disingenuous is because they can still honor the legacy of Chadwick Boseman, right? And because we got introduced in Loki to a multiverse, you can have a multiversal T'Challa come in. We literally just seen Star-Lord T'Challa, who changed the life of Thanos with just words. Didn't have to fight him, didn't have to do anything. Words. That's how powerful he was. And Chadwick was doing it while he was sick with cancer. So anybody who's taking on that role, you could have had him come from a multiverse where the incursions get ready to happen and he so happened escaped. Like they do in Secret Wars. One of the biggest movies is getting ready to come out in the next 3 years. And he was an integral part of Secret Wars. T'Challa has been an integral part of of Marvel Comics since the 1960s. But no. Let's throw him away. This is so disingenuous.
This has never been an issue about respect. And as much as I have completely 100% believed they should have recast T'Challa, I've also been very careful to say, but here's the thing. I know that Ryan Coogler and Kevin Feige are going to make their decisions based on what they think is the most respectful thing to do. I may disagree with what the conclusion is, but I totally know that whatever decision they come to, it's because what they think is the most respectful.
And I actually agree with them. They think it's respectful, and as a consumer, that's when you can make your decision. This is what this is all about. As a consumer, if they make their decision and you watch this movie, and you know what, they's like, you know what, we don't need a T'Challa anymore. We don't need a black male role model anymore. Then what do you do as a consumer? Do you still consume their product, or do you let it go? That's why people wants to boycott, because they're consumers. And they're tired of seeing black male death. I'm sorry. You don't get that because you don't live in our world where the first mainstream black superhero that wasn't a stereotype was named T'Challa.
And so when Kevin Feige, shortly after the passing of Chadwick Boseman, came out and said, we are never going to recast T'Challa. Chadwick Boseman is our T'Challa. He's our king. And so we're not going to recast him. You've got to be a little bit of a fool not to realize that while I may disagree with his conclusion, you got to be a fool not to recognize that their heart was in the right place, right? We may disagree with the conclusion, but don't for a second think that they were doing they were just trying to cash in on the death of Chadwick Boseman. Guess what? If they did recast it, there would have been a bunch of other people saying they're just cashing in on the death of Chadwick Boseman. I mean, it was a no-win situation for him.
And again, what he didn't bring in is that they didn't have to immediately recast. You could have did a story like they did in the comics during Dark Reign when he was incapacitated. You know what I mean? And Shuri became the new Black Panther during that run. You know, that led up into Doom War and all this other stuff. Dark Reign, all of that. It's a fictional story. Don't tell me what you can't do in a fictional story. Because it's your story. It's how you create it. So are we so limited that when Black Panther dies, I don't know what to do? You turn into Scooby-Doo. I don't know, Raggy. What do we do? Well, let's just kill them off. People who make these decisions can't be that. And I could understand. He said, with Kevin Feige, he's saying his heart was in the right place. Could it be a little emotional because, for one, he didn't know Chadwick had cancer? No one knew. And then that lead character that you're getting ready to build so much to, he passes? Maybe he didn't know, and maybe, the reason why he didn't do it because, damn, he didn't even tell me what was going on. An emotional decision was made and not a logical one? Could that be, because that can happen. Sometimes we make decisions where our emotions are not actual logic. Let's keep going.
So this whole idea, and listen, I felt the same way about the passing of Carrie Fisher, right? I said from the beginning, Leia is too important. Carrie Fisher has spent her lifelong legacy building this character. You as a studio should pick up the baton for her and carry it across the finish line with that last one in her name. And would it be better for the movie? It would be better for her. I believe that, but they didn't do it.
See, the only problem with the Carrie Fisher analogy is that Carrie Fisher had 3 movies. Actually, technically, she had 6. Well, 5. But her story was already told. It wasn't like Carrie Fisher died literally right before The Empire Strikes Back. Empire Strikes Back. It ain't like they had Star Wars. Carrie Fisher dies, and then, you got to figure out what Princess Leia goes forward from there. You know what I'm saying? The Empire Strikes Back. So she had a lifelong legacy to be able to go with. Chadwick Boseman in Black Panther was literally on screen for maybe an hour. Maybe. This is not Tony Stark. This is not Thor. This is not Captain America. This is not Natasha Romanoff, who had all their stories, their character arc. They had a amount of time to tell a complete story. We didn't get an opportunity to do that with the character of T'Challa, so why would you shove it?
So when they didn't do it, I got two options. I can whine and cry about it, or I can say, well, you made the decision. Let's hope the movie's great. And
let's ask yourself, was the movie great? Nope.
As somebody who is firmly in the camp of they should have recast T'Challa, they didn't. And they didn't for their own reasons, that their heart was completely in the right place. And the movie's now made. And so we can A, whine and bitch and cry about it, or we can say, okay, they moved forward, let's move on, and let's hope this movie's really great.
See, this is what the part that really gets me on this one, though, John, is that you can say, oh, we can whine, bitch, and complain about it. But the problem when you saying that is that you're taking, we are the consumers. So we have a voice that we could be able to use to say if we want something or not. Because we're the ones who's buying this product. What happened with the Snyder Cut? You heard a lot more people saying this is what they want, and what did Warner Brothers do? Deliver a Snyder Cut. So when you say, we can whine, bitch, you complain about it, we are not, again, the people that's actually doing the recast of T'Challa, like I said at the beginning with the petition, we're not asking for an immediate recast. Tell your story, but keep T'Challa. That's it. What's so hard about that? There's a multiverse. Get a T'Challa. But just don't let the character 60 years of comic history go down with the actor. Buried with the actor. That's what the recast T'Challa petition is all about, Mr. Grandfather. And if you're the grandfather, E-Man's your daddy.
Because, I saw that Black Panther trailer as somebody who totally believes they should have recast T'Challa, and that trailer's great. So I still believe it would have been the right idea to recast T'Challa, but you know what? They didn't. So now we can either cry like little fucking babies, or we can say, they didn't do it, let's move on. Fingers crossed that this movie's great, and it'll be wonderful. So I get it. I will lead the charge if they should have recast T'Challa parade. I'll lead that parade. But we also...
But how can you lead that parade if you never talked to the person who created the petition in the first place, the hashtag? How can you lead that? So what I would like, John, if you ever watch this, you probably won't, but if you ever watch this, go talk to E-Man from E-Man's Movie Reviews, who actually created the petition. You two guys get on your platform. He explain or his platform. He explains what Recast T'Challa is about. You give your piece, and then y'all go from there. Since you're claiming that you're the grandfather, you're the strong head of this, and you're spearheading this, go to the person who started the petition.
So have to wreck this whole idea that now we're gonna boycott this movie. That is the worst of fandom. That is misguided at best. And maybe this discussion could have been brought up while they were still trying to make their decision.
They did. That's the problem. Recast T'Challa is not nothing new. Again, it happened in April of 2021. That's when the Recast T'Challa hashtag started. So this is nothing new. And they knew. And the more and more they start getting towards the filming of that movie, the more and more Recast T'Challa start building, and people start signing the petition and going forward with it. And E-Man's being on all kinds of news stations and stuff like that talking about Recast T'Challa. It's nothing new. This is why I know good and well you have no idea about the petition or anything, Grandpa. So let's keep going.
But it's done. I look at it and see it. Chris, obviously a lot of people, I want to ask, where were you, all those people, when they hadn't made up their mind yet? And I was going, yes, recast T'Challa. Everybody stayed quiet about it. But we are now, especially after the trailer, a lot of people saying the growing movement of recast T'Challa, even though the movie's already done. But I don't know, how do you see this? It seems like it's a difficult situation regardless.
It absolutely is. And it's far too late to recast. They're not going to do reshoots, right? So... be ridiculous. I always thought it was.
You know what? You know what I don't like? Is when people do it's ridiculous. Stuff like that little bit of sassiness, like again, is disingenuous. Because a lot of people, I can tell y'all don't know what y'all talking about. And me as a person who has personally spoken with E-Man, had him on my podcast when I had my podcast, and I think that video might still be on YouTube. That, you know, when he created that petition, I was one of the first people that signed that petition, and I've been backed on that. When you do this, you guys sound stupid. You guys, this whole thing is, where did it come from? Y'all too smart not to Google and see where this recast T'Challa at, and be genuine with the conversation. This conversation sounds so disingenuous.
To not replace T'Challa with the idea of replacing the Black Panther. And I completely understood that reasoning, but I also understood why other people thought, no, let's have, T'Challa just be taken on by somebody else the way we've had multiple Batman, multiple Spider-Man. I get both arguments. However, most of the time when people do these kinds of petitions, it's just like internet trolls, right? It's a small but loud...
Hold up, wait a minute. When anybody does this petition like this, it's like internet trolls. This is how I know good and damn well they did not read, they did not research, they didn't do anything. They're just talking out the side of their neck. This is what's so frustrating. John and Chris and whoever, if you ever watched this or your fans ever watched this, you could have literally Google searched this before you got to just talking. Before you just got to yapping. Y'all get on here and y'all just talk without the back end, without the research. And that's so ridiculous. And then your fans jump on and be like, yeah. But nobody talked about the actual petition itself. And this statement that she made right here is exactly the problem that goes on. You just see the hashtag, you see this, and you like, well, they didn't do their research. It's just like internet trolls. Good God almighty, dude.
Loud majority. I don't think most people find this disrespectful, and I don't want to put people's opinions in their mouths, but I truly don't think most people are sitting at home going, wow, this was the most disrespectful thing they could have done to Chadwick Boseman. What a bunch of dicks.
Yeah, because if you're going to make the movie and have the depth of Chadwick Boseman as a plot device to sell your money, I mean, to make your to sell your movie, and nobody's going in thinking about what the character of Riri Williams or the character of Namor. We're shoving all of this off. You know what I mean? And some of the leaks that's going on and big characters might show up. We're shoving all of that to the side so we could just see what Marvel Comics does with Chadwick's with T'Challa. We're shoving all of that to the side. There could be so much that could be going on in this movie that could be incredible, but in the back of our mind, we're literally thinking, what you gonna do with our first black superhero in the MCU? Our first main black superhero as the black consumer. So you don't know what you're talking about. Or no, it's your opinion. Go with your opinion. I vehemently disagree with it.
These guys don't have any passion or compassion for him. I don't think anyone actually really believes that, except for a very, very small minority. And if you do, hey, you are entitled to your opinion. That's totally, totally fine. I'm not judging that, right? I just don't think that complaining about it in this way does any good. You can absolutely have your opinions and your reservations about this film, but go see it and see how you feel about it then. Or when the whole pre-production process was happening, then you could have stated your case. But right now, too little too late.
By the way, little bit of a side note. Ever since we covered the Wong topic, everybody in the live chat's been putting their Wong puns.
It's just constant Wongs.
I just read one that said, Wakanda forever. I saw.
Wakanda forever. So hilarious. The crazy part about the last part she said before, the Wakanda forever, that's a good one, was that petition has been out. This is not something new. And with a quick Google search, you just could have found that out. And it's a little too late. I don't know what to tell you. Oh well. You know what I mean? See what they do with it. I'm telling you this. You're going to have some, like anything, you're going to have some that's going to go into that movie and they're going to wear white. And they're going to mourn the death of Chadwick Boseman. They, instead of buying popcorn and sodas, they're going to have tissue paper. You know what I'm saying? And all of this. And they're going to be crying in the movie and stuff like that. Then you're going to have the other ones that's in there. If they do this, if we don't know, because we haven't watched the film, if they really use that man as a plot device, I'm going to walk out. If his death is the center of this as a plot device, I'm walking out. I don't want to watch that. Why don't I want to watch that? Man, I am tired of every time we get something like a superhero that is ours and we can look up to and our children can look up to. Hell, my son's dog's name is T'Challa because he looked up at that character. And that was his hero. And he was upset when his hero died in real life. And you think I'm about to drag my son to this to see him die again? You don't get it. And I can tell you guys don't get it.
I just kind of like that one. Anyway, Rob, I mean, this is an evolving situation we've been talking about, unfortunately, ever since the passing of Chadwick Boseman. But what do you make of this?
Well, I guess I feel differently in the sense that when I think when an iconic character or the actor that plays an iconic character passes on, I like the idea that if they're going to continue the story of, like in the case here, Wakanda itself, that they incorporate that person's passing into the story, because that's life, you know. And
so did they use the passing of Christopher Reeves in any other Superman movies? Because that's life. It's life. Did they use Sean Connery's death, even though he was one of the James Bonds? Did they use that as any part of any of the James Bond movies after his passing? No. Ask yourself this. Even when Carrie Fisher passed, and they made, I think, Rise of Skywalker, they still carried on with the story. Hell, we just seen a little Leia. So, it just seemed like you guys just don't get it. That's what it just seems like to me. I give you another one. Jim Henson passed away right after the first Ninja Turtles movie came out. And they did the dedication in the memory of Jim Henson, but that had stopped them from making puppets. They didn't say, well, you know, this was his last movie. Why would we make Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2? And the creator of these puppets is not around. Just shelved the movie. No, they put a good dedication in there. Had new suits, has his son take over. And here we go, more suits. So when you say stuff, especially when you have legacy characters who's been around, who have their story told, you know what I'm saying, thousands upon thousands of times, not only just in media, but in other references and other places, it doesn't hold weight to me. Especially when, you know, Chadwick was an excellent actor, but he was only on screen for Black Panther not that long. So we don't know how he's going to be as a king, as a father, as a husband, how he's going to handle Wakanda business. We don't know any of this. The politics, he opened up Wakanda. We have no idea. And we, you know, according to y'all, oh well, we'll never find out. Just, I don't know what to tell you. Kevin Feige, we trust.
I with, you know, my beloved, I'll bring up my two favorite words, Star Trek. When you see Captain James Tiberius Kirk, Shatner began playing Kirk in 1966.
1966.
His character died in 1994's Generations.
Hold up. Wait a minute. 1966, and James T. Kirk in the fictional universe died in 94. So that's what, about almost 30 some odd years of James T. Kirk? multiple movies, and you're gonna compare that to, about an hour of Black Panther. Out of the 20 some odd, all this publication that the MCU, just the Marvel Cinematic Universe, has, and we literally got T'Challa in Civil War. We got him in Infinity War. We got him in the Black Panther movie, Infinity War, Endgame, and that's it. And you're using James C. Kirk over almost 40 years or 30 years of work compared to 4 movies. And the 3 that I mentioned was bit roles. Jesus, Lord have mercy.
Played that character for 30 years. And we saw the fact that he got older, and being middle-aged was incorporated into the character itself. In Star Trek 2, getting older, having to wear glasses and all that. And then he finally dies in Generations. For me as a person that watched this franchise my entire life, you had to go through that. You had to go through the death of that character and give it up. And in a way, it kind of helps people grow. Now, I would love to have seen Chad Boseman play this part for 30 years. I'd love to see him age into the role. I would love to have seen a T'Challa who was bearded and, grizzled and battle-hard.
See T'Challa become T'Chaka.
Because, absolutely. And we're not going to do that. And barring that, I think they made the right choice. Because while I think, obviously...
Why it's okay for James C. Kirk and everybody else to be able to have their legacy go on forever. We to have Supermans go on forever, to have Batmans to go on forever, to have the Joker go on forever with multiple roles. T'Challa is just that one, but Chadwick Boseman was so amazing that nobody else could fill his shoes. That's the most asinine, ridiculous thing that I've ever heard in my whole entire life. I'm gonna be real with you, and this is probably gonna sting a lot of people. Chadwick was way better in the Five Bloods in his small role. He was way better in 42. He was way better in Get On Up. He was way better in a few other movies than he was in the actual Black Panther movie. Now, did he have a iconic moment? Yes. But the Five Bloods, just saying. 42, Get On Up, killed it.
Obviously, I've been a James Bond fan. They've recast that character, but to see what they're going to do, I thought this trailer. I was so curious, John, about what were they going to do, and it looks like they're giving us a great story, and that's all I want from these things is a great story, rather than having an iconic character come back. If the story of what happens in Wakanda Forever carries forth the MCU, carries forth the story of Wakanda, and then carries forth the legacy of Chad Boseman himself, aren't we better off? I don't know.
See, to place an argument on that is that, again, the character of T'Challa was supposed to move forward along with the actual story, because he was the focal point of the actual story. So yes, you can have a good story, but that's just like reading a Black Panther comic, and this figurehead, you talk about everything else in the story, but the actual main character of the story, which is T'Challa, is completely absent for the rest of the remainder of the time. And we're supposed to be okay with that, just because the actor died. What was this type of energy when the first Dumbledore passed? They continued with they recast and continued with another Dumbledore, and nobody batted an eye. They could just continue the story because the story was more important, but he was a figurehead of the story. That's what T'Challa is. Go read Secret Wars. He's part of the story. Not Shuri, not Okoye, not nobody else. T'Challa. Boy, yeah. Woo.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the character of T'Challa is such an important character, and the fact that he only got his one movie, I really just thought the character should have been cared. But to your point, they didn't, and it's now, and we got a great trailer, and it's time to just move on. It's time to move on. Now, Do I still hope that they... Because this is the Marvel fake death universe, right? Do I still hope at some point in later movies, say T'Challa is back and it's played by a different... Absolutely I do, and I will hold on to that. But for this movie, this idea of, they didn't do what I wanted them to do, boycott it. I just cannot be there with you on that.
But it's also, you know, it's
And I do agree with a little bit of what he's saying there, is that I wouldn't boycott it because they didn't do what I told them to do. And that's not what that goes back to them not actually researching Recast T'Challa and reading the petition and finding out what's going on. This is just them just spitballing what they think it is and not what it actually is, the actual facts, the logical thinking portion of your brain. And that's the problem with this whole entire argument. That's the only problem that I have with this whole entire argument. Nobody went to go read the petition and see exactly what Recast T'Challa is about.
To me, it also flies in the face of all these very talented professionals, like you pointed out earlier. Yeah. You think those people that made Wakanda Forever aren't thinking, we must do the best job that we can do? I mean, it's such a weird thing to me that somebody would look, if something comes out and it's not good, then pillory it all you want online. But it looks to me that the utmost respect and effort has been put forward to make sure that the legacy of Chad Boseman and then also the story of Wakanda is being moved forward in grand fashion.
Let me ask you a theoretical thing. Let's say they did what I think they should have done, and they had recast Chadwick Boseman. Do you think today we would be facing a lot of backlash, people saying boycott this movie because you shouldn't have recast? I think there clearly would have
Absolutely.
been. I think it's a lose-lose.
Yeah, it's a damn...
And I'm going to disagree with that because we never got that option. Literally, Chadwick Boseman died in August. Kevin Feige came out in November and said we're not recasting the role of T'Challa in the MCU. And then, I can't think of his name offhand. He said that they're not recasting the T'Challa in the 616. So, again, we've seen the show Loki. They have many variants of Loki. Many of them didn't look like Tom Hiddleston. So there's still an opportunity for you to bring a T'Challa in. So if they would have told the story where it made sense, That's the thing that I think this is why this conversation is so disingenuous, because y'all talking to the people like they're dumb. You're talking to people like we don't understand story. And in the way the story flows, and yes, we want to see Wakanda, but the Wakanda has a king. He has a king who just became king. So we want to see how that character interacts within the workings of Wakanda. Yes, we love Wakanda, but there's a kingship and there's a story that needs to be told from the kingship. That's the problem. We got there. He became king. It got tossed it got tossed in the river, and then he had to beat Killmonger. He had to kill Killmonger, and then we had to go through all the stuff that went on with Infinity War. And he was snapped, and then he died again during the snap, and then he was brought back. They beat, you know what I'm saying, Thanos in Endgame. And then we lost Chadwick. And in the process of that, he was still the focal point of Wakanda. You know, T'Challa literally is the main focal point of the whole thing of Wakanda. That doesn't mean Shuri can't be Black Panther or Nakia or whoever. Anybody could be Black Panther. But you're missing the king. And again, the petition said we're not calling for an immediate recast. Just do not use this man's death as a plot device in your fictional storytelling. That's it. So even if the story would have made sense and they would have got another T'Challa from another universe, because we seen what happened with the multiverse, this was good about Marvel storytelling. That's what keeps me coming back, because the storytelling is good. So when you have all these variants, you're going to have a bunch of Kang variants and all of this. You can bring another T'Challa from another universe. You just introduce incursions. I would deploy anybody. Go read Secret Wars of 2015. And you will understand what I'm talking about.
If you do, damned if you don't do situation. And I don't know how old this petition is too, but I am wondering.
See?
I'd love to get the
Whoops.
Clip, and I don't know how old this petition is too, but I am wondering after the Lego news too, does this have to do with a woman being Black Panther too? If that's an issue. I don't want to put people's a thought.
See what I mean? I don't know what the petition, how old the petition is, but does it have to do about a woman? Oh my Lord, have mercy. Stop with your gaslighting. Stop with the... There is nothing, dude. The woman is the backbone of the Black Panther series in the comics and in the movie. So it has nothing to do with a woman being Black Panther. We're talking about T'Challa. And this is where I'm about to end this. I'm going to let this roll because I don't want to be disingenuous and be like, well, you didn't let her finish.
Thoughts and opinions out there and tell them what they're thinking, but I'm wondering if that's some backlash from that potential news.
No, it's not.
Oh, I don't want Shuri to be my Black Panther. Boycott this film. That's disrespectful.
That's not it.
The hashtag recast T'Challa has been around for a bit.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there could be some of that too. Anyway, guys, question is for...
Okay. So, no, lady, that's not it. And if you would have read the petition, you would have Google searched. You could have did before y'all written record. You could have went, let me Google recast T'Challa. You know what? That has nothing to do with a woman. It has nothing to do with any of that. They just don't want the fictional character of T'Challa to be. We don't want Chadwick Boseman's death to be a plot device in your fictional movie. If you would have looked at E-Man's movie reviews, this is why I could tell your grandpa recast T'Challa didn't reach out to the person who started the campaign to recast T'Challa in the first place, the petition. So let me get my behind out of here. I'm in off work. This has really pissed me off, and I'm done. I'm super done. This. You guys should know better. John, if you ever watched this, Chris or whoever, if you ever watched this was so disingenuous that you didn't even research the information before you just got to talking. That's what's disingenuous about this conversation. And then if you would have just Google search recast T'Challa, you could have reached out to E-Man from E-Man's movie reviews, had a conversation with him, had him on this panel so he could discuss this with you. So you're not just going out, you're just spitting out the side of your ass because you think that this is what we're thinking. And Chris, that lady, you're so disingenuous just to think that we don't want to recast T'Challa because Shuri will be Black Panther. That is a mantle. She has been Black Panther in the comics. She you know what I mean? So you can still have, and at the same time when she was Black Panther, guess who was still there? T'Challa. This your man Dre Mac. Like, share, and subscribe. I'm done. Bye bye.